So amid questions about the future of the monarchy and if it's still relevant, the Commonwealth Saturday's coronation will have a big part to play in shaping the monarchy moving forward.
Well, joining us to discuss is Andrew Morton and former Deputy Private Secretary to King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla, Scott Furssedonn-Wood, who's currently High Commissioner to Barbados, which became a republic in 2021. Good to see both of you this morning. You presumably, Scott, are still in touch with Charles. How is he feeling? How is he doing? You know, because this is a big one, isn't it, on any scale?
Well, of course, it's a huge moment. It's a huge moment for him and for the institution. But he's been doing his job for a very long time. He was Prince of Wales for 50 years. He knew this moment was coming, and it's something that he's thought about all his life. So I'm sure he's ready for it.
Andrew, he was Prince of Wales for 50 years. He's been waiting for a very long time, as Scott was just saying. We've seen him be king, albeit before the coronation this weekend. He's already taken the reins and he's already sort of started to show what sort of king he's going to be like. What have you made of what we've seen so far?
Well, I think you're seeing a more relaxed monarch than, say, with the Queen. I mean, you know, on day one, he was being kissed by ladies in the crowd.
That's right.
He went straight over, didn't he, as soon as he arrived back at Buckingham Palace?
He did, and the lady standing next to the one who kissed him was my daughter. So
Really?
So the House of Morton met the House of Windsor. And
how old was your daughter, Andrew?
She's 37.
So it's interesting, isn't it? Because intriguingly, when you talk about popularity of the royals, we're told that, and maybe it's the younger generation below that as well, certainly aren't as interested in having a monarchy as some of the older generation. But what I remember seeing from those pictures, and what I'm intrigued to see on the weekend, is just the age range of people who will be in the crowd to enjoy the experience and to celebrate the coronation.
I think that's a very good point. I mean, they're looking for diversity, they're looking for inclusivity. I mean, when the Queen was crowned in 1953, it was a bunch of white aristocrats, and predominantly men. Very few women took part. Whereas with this one, you've got all faiths. The procession of all faiths will enter the Abbey first. There'll be Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims passing over elements of the coronation garb. So you've got a real sense of Britain, a new Britain, a multicultural, multiracial Britain.
Is that a conscious choice, do you think, by him? Because, yes, you're right, it will look very different in terms of the people that are there. And also, there'll be fewer of them, won't there, in terms of the invites that were for the Queen's coronation?
Well, I think that's right. I mean, of course, it's a conscious choice. Because these are the things that matter to him. And this isn't new. I mean, in those 50 years that he was Prince of Wales, this is exactly what we saw, because he values the diversity of this country, not for its own sake, but because he knows that that difference has real value, and that by bringing people together from different faiths, different perspectives, we're all stronger and we all learn from each other and we support each other.
How will he feel about the sort of the raising murmur and sort of the criticism that's pointed towards the monarchy as its relevance anymore in today's society? Will he feel offended by that, or will he be ready to defend it and understands that that's just a usual perspective that people will have?
We live in a democracy, and we debate these things openly and freely, and that's a great strength of our society. And these debates, these questions aren't new. People have been talking about these things for hundreds of years.
I mean, you're High Commissioner to Barbados, aren't you?
Yeah.
Which became a republic not that long ago, 2021. So you must be very conscious of the decisions of nations to not have Charles as head of state.
That was a decision taken by the government of Barbados to remove the Queen as head of state, become a republic, as other countries had done before. You know, when the Queen was Queen, she was Queen of all sorts of places that she wasn't Queen of by the end of her reign. And she was Queen of Pakistan until '54, Malta until the mid-'70s, Fiji until the late '80s. These things do change, and the Prince, as Prince of Wales, he said this, that these things do change, and the benefit of long life has shown him that they can change calmly and without rancour. And that's why he came to Barbados for that moment, to show that this wasn't something that he regretted, but actually this was something that could change, and that actually it was an opportunity to celebrate the enduring partnership we enjoy with these countries within the context of the Commonwealth.
But there's also the sense as well that towards the end of the Queen's reign, she was, as it were, a heat shield that stopped any kind of debate at all about the relevance, the cost and the monarchy going forwards.
Why was that? So, respect for age?
And that's out of respect for her. And I think that with King Charles taking the throne, it's allowed more room for debate, hence the fact that he's underpinned and underscored an investigation into the royal family and its links to slavery. That is taking place at Manchester University. So there is a side to the monarchy that people will be looking at more critically than they looked at during the Queen's reign.
What about Queen Camilla? You, of course, famously wrote a book which seemed to, I think you've now acknowledged, had a lot of contacts directly with Diana, didn't it? Or certainly passed through things from Diana. There's a lot of people that still feel uncomfortable about the past, but also a welcoming of her. And she's been very involved in this coronation, we understand. Well,
she's been very involved in the coronation, but it's also, over the years, been very supportive to Prince Charles. And yes, of course, the shadow of Diana may well hover over the Abbey to some extent, but at the same time, King Charles and Queen Camilla have been the kind of Darby and Joan of the royal family since 2005 when they married. So we're talking about the days when Diana was alive 25 years ago.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that feel that she has been a great asset, don't they?
Well, I think what people have seen over recent years is the way she's just got on and done the job. I mean, she's a woman who's faced extraordinary criticism in her time, but she has never let that distract her from what she's there to do. She's championed the causes which matter most to her. And as Andrew was saying, she's been there by the Prince and now the King's side in what is very genuinely a partnership between two people who love each other and depend upon each other.
Scott, do you think he'll enjoy the weekend, or will he just want to get it over and done with?
I think he will want to ensure that things go well. He'll thought about this. He's been very involved in the planning, but he'll already be thinking about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, because I know that's how he works.
I think we all have a pyjama moment in our heads when we've got something big on, don't we? Where we're looking forward to the moment we can put our pyjamas on and think, well, that went well, thank goodness. Well, he must have an element of that.
Well, he'll already know what's in his diary for the following week and the weeks that come after, but I'm sure he'll take some time to walk in his garden.
He'll be hoping that the sacred does not turn into slapstick, as it did possibly during the George VI coronation, where the Archbishop of Canterbury put the crown on the wrong way around.
They'll
have rehearsed that carefully.
And the Queen, for her coronation, was worried that one of the bishops who had those big bushy eyebrows would start wiggling them and start her off laughing.
Some things you can control. The eyebrows of the bishops, I'm not sure is one. What do you think,
of course,
Scott?
was very mischievous, wasn't he?
As a child, at the coronation.
At the coronation. He ran up and down and the Queen Mum had to step in. He was very little.
Scott, what do you think is the biggest misconception of the King? You know him personally.
I think that people probably didn't feel they knew him. I think what was striking about those scenes that I think you just showed your viewers of him greeting the crowds outside the palace shortly after the Queen's death was people saw a very human side to him that perhaps they hadn't expected to see. Those of us who've had the privilege of working with him or have seen him in action know that that's exactly who he is. And I think what's been wonderful to see is over the last 8 months during his reign, people have perhaps begun to see him as a person as well as him as the role.
What about something that you've experienced personally that you feel is the moment that was the mark of the man?
Oh, goodness me, I could point to lots of things, but I mean, one thing that very personal to me, which made a tremendous difference shortly after I started working for him, my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer and we lost her very quickly. The then Prince, he barely knew me, he'd certainly never met my mother, but he sent her the most extraordinary handwritten letter telling her how sorry he was that she was ill and saying he hoped that she took comfort in her pride in me and the rest of my family. And that's the sort of thing he did time and time again, because he knew that he occupied this extraordinary position that he could use to make a real difference in people's lives.
I think my experience of meeting was there was always this wonderful sense of humour and warmth about him, which you
mischief in the eyes.
And we know Katy Perry's performing at the concert. You and your family are big fans of Katy Perry.
Well, that's right.
Didn't Prince Charles, but now King Charles, facilitate quite a moment for you and Katy Perry?
Well, we were in India and Katy Perry was at an event to raise money for the Prince's British Asian Trust, which is a charity he started to improve lives and livelihoods in South Asia. And yes, Katy Perry was going to be there, and I did happen to mention to him that my children and perhaps I were big fans. And so normally we would hold back at those events, those of us in the household, and not get in the way, but he very generously asked her if she'd have a selfie with me, which earned me huge brownie points with my daughter.
Can I just say, I love the idea that he took that picture.
Didn't.
I mean, he didn't. I'm just, in my head, it was him taking the picture.
Well, there we go.
In my head, the idea that King Charles is a kitty cat. And a big fan of Katy Perry. That's where I've gone with it. But you are, well, which is good.
It's going to be an extraordinary day. Andrew, what are your expectations for the day? I mean, we know that people are going to be allowed to protest, and that's a hugely important part of the democracy we live in. But is that going to distract from what happens?
I think it's got the potential to be a very moving occasion because this is a state event. It's not just a family event. I think, obviously, initially, all eyes will be on the arrival of Prince Harry. Who does he arrive with? Where does he sit? What's his position? But I think transcending that is going to be this sense of Britain turning a genuine page historically as a country. We're not talking about a new Carolean age. We're talking about business as usual. But at the same time, we get a real sense of modern Britain.
And a huge moment internationally as well. We've got something like 200 countries and territories being represented, all of these heads of state and government coming in for this event. It's a huge opportunity for us diplomatically to really project modern Britain and to strengthen those relationships and partnerships that we have around the world. And that, the monarchy plays a massive part in that. And
you'll be there. You're an invitee.
I feel very fortunate that I will be in the Abbey, somewhere right at the back, no doubt. But to be in that extraordinary space for that moment will be very special.
Is there a dress code for the members of the congregation?
There's a suggested dress code. There's a range of options, I think. I don't have anything particularly fancy, but I'll be...
But you must have been planning it. I mean, you've got to plan your...
I don't have any ermine.
You've got to plan the coronation outfit.
Well, I think the tie, choosing the tie is probably the biggest dilemma I've got. Andrew and I have coordinated our ties this morning, as you can see. So.
We borrowed it from each other's wardrobes.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for the tie.
So much easier for men, isn't it? All he's worried about is the tie.
Scott, thank you so much for coming in and joining us. Do enjoy the weekend. We will be there, of course. And Andrew, great to get your perspective as well.
We're live at the Westminster Abbey this Saturday, aren't we? We've got people all over, actually. I'm at Buckingham Palace. Ramv is somewhere else with people queuing. We've got correspondents everywhere for a very special Good Morning Britain Coronation show, kicking off a day of coverage on ITV from 6 a.m. Please join us. Talking of outfits, Debbie Wardrobe has already said no to me wearing a Union Jack dress.
You haven't got the Jerry Halliwell Spice Girls dress?
Well, I actually have.
Yeah. Just wear it anyway.
She said no. She wants
Once you've
to be
got
classy.
through the cordon, you'll be fine.
OK.
Just a reminder, you can follow us throughout the coronation all weekend, all the latest on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we're even on the TikTok now as well.